So I am a celebrity fitness expert. And then back in 2018, I wanted to make the leap over to online coaching and training. And I thought it was going to go really smoothly, and it didn't. But being in this program really made a huge change to the business. I was roughly at about anywhere between 8 to 10K a month. Now I'm month over month, anywhere between 40 and 50K a month. It was the first ad right out of the gate. It worked, and it just continued to work. We had, an 8X ROAS, and then that continued to climb. At one point it was at 16X. It's made me, 3 to 400K.
All right, guys, I've got Ashley Conrad over here, who has been a client of mine for a little bit, and she's been absolutely crushing it. And I wanted to bring her on here to kind of interview her, ask her some questions about what she's doing in her business, what's working for her, so that ultimately you guys can learn from this and ultimately get some results too. So Ashley, appreciate you being here. Would you mind giving a quick intro on who you are and what your business does?
Sure. So I am a celebrity fitness expert. The first 15 years of my career, I worked in Hollywood, predominantly working with actors and models and musicians, getting them ready for tours and movies. And then back in 2018, I wanted to make the leap over to online coaching and training. And I thought it was going to go really smoothly, and it didn't. But being in this program really made a huge change to the business. So I'm excited to kind of talk about it.
Cool. Me too. And I guess, the first question is, how did you find about me and my company?
It was the ads. Like, the ads just kept targeting me. And because I was obviously in conversations, like, what am I going to do to increase revenue? Do I need to do ads? Should I be doing organic? And I don't know. I think you just have a face that you can trust. And honestly, your ads just looked really cool. And you seemed like you were who you said you were. So yeah, the ad really got me. And then I think the lead magnet and all the free resources that you sent, as soon as I kind of dove into those materials, I realized I am so far out of my depth, even with this stuff. And I was like, I need to learn this. This is not good. A lot of the stuff that you were talking about, I had never A, thought of, or B, even if I wanted to implement inside of the business, I didn't know how. So that's when I booked the call to talk to Joe.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Now, before you obviously were doing some things previously with this business before we started working together,
Yeah.
Where were you at roughly when you first started joining with us, and where are you at now?
Okay, so I was roughly at about anywhere between 8 to 10K a month. And the problem with that was it wasn't consistent, right? So I would go from like 6K a month to maybe 12K, and hadn't really figured out how to consistently achieve the same revenue every month over month. And so now I'm month over month, anywhere between 40 and 50K a month, depending on the month. So yeah, it like massive. And the thing is even though I've been in the program for about a year, I immediately shot up to about 20K a month as soon as I even just started following your organic lead information. It took me about 6 months to even turn on ads, but just doing what you told me to do with organic, it added another 10K a month to the revenue. So yeah, it was just incredible right out of the gate.
I appreciate that. That's awesome to hear too. Congrats on the incremental growth. What would you say, other than like the organic side of stuff, because that is one of the components that we teach to help clients get started and get some extra cash coming through? What do you think would be like, if you had to kind of narrow it down? I know we teach a lot inside here, but like, what was kind of like that one thing for you where everything kind of just started clicking? You're like, wow, this is it. I can see the growth from here.
Honestly, I think it was the KPIs, and then always having somebody that you can reach out to when you're stuck or you're having trouble. I, on the business side, wasn't sure how to run the business, if that makes sense, online. I wasn't sure how to make informed decisions. And so I know this sounds silly, but even the master tracker, being able to then make decisions solely on data instead of emotion, and never having to really guess what's wrong and why something isn't working, is probably one of the greatest takeaways. Obviously, I think when you're an entrepreneur, it's really easy to get caught up when things aren't going well, and you start making these decisions that are actually the wrong decisions for the business. So on all of the calls that I've watched, I think this always ends up coming up, but you really teaching us how to make those decisions for the business, and that it really doesn't matter how you feel, but making them based on facts and KPIs was just a total game changer. And gosh, I mean, it's exposed so many things within the business where we haven't had, great months, to be able to trace back and get granular on what specifically is the reason for that is, I mean, it's life changing, right? Because there's no more guessing. It's right there in the numbers. So yeah, I think that has been one of the most valuable things for me.
I love that. I love that. And we have a saying, I'm sure you've heard it as well, is like people lie, but numbers
Yeah,
don't lie. And
exactly.
I think, that's kind of how we wanted to incorporate this, was just an easy way that we could look at your business and say, hey, do this, do more of that, don't do this. So I know you hop on a lot of our calls, especially on the lead calls, and kind of talk about that. How, if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit of feedback for anyone watching this, like, do you like those calls? How do those calls help you? How don't they help you? If you wouldn't mind giving a little bit of feedback on that.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is I think listening to what other people are dealing with in their business, even if that's not top of mind. When I hop on the call, it helps, right? Because you're basically watching and seeing in other people's businesses what's working and what's not. Secondly, I think having access to you is just invaluable, right? And joining Elite, that was the one thing before I joined Elite that I kept kind of thinking, like, how could I get Justin to mentor me? Like, how much would that cost? Is it something he even does? And then when you guys rolled out Elite, it was just a no-brainer. So also having access to you on those calls and being able to kind of walk through what, if anything, needs either is improvement, problems inside the business, problems inside of ads, but then also just hearing from you what's worked inside of your business and how, I mean, learning from somebody who's already done it at the highest level is just, it's invaluable, right? That's what you need. You can't, I think a lot of times people fail, not because they're not well intentioned, but because they just don't have the right information. Right. So those calls are packed with so much value that, yeah, I hate being in meetings, but I literally wait for Friday. Like I get excited Thursday night. I'm like, okay, tomorrow's the day where then you go into the weekend and you're just armed with information. And over the weekend, I usually go in and implement anything that you've, told me to do, or I've heard you tell somebody else to do that I know would be beneficial to us. So.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's like on those calls, it's basically like, hey, these calls are going to help me grow my business. And that's essentially, why we have the KPIs into play and why you've been able to see tremendous results is because you've done, and this is a shout out to you as well, because we don't interview everyone. We interview like select people. Is like, you've done everything we've asked, and there's a reason you're on this call, and there's a reason you're getting results is because you just follow the process. And speaking of the process, I know with you, you put up, was it like your first ad that you put up where you got like, it just started ranking, or was that like, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, okay. So yeah, it was the first ad. I had a call with Alec and he, gave me some ideas for an ad. And then I saw something from someone previous, I think, inside of your program. And it was just a really simple static ad. And I just kind of threw it up there and right out of the gate, it worked. And it just continued to work. It was, I think, out of the gate, we had, an 8x ROAS, and then that continued to climb. At one point, it was at 16x. And I didn't have to touch it for, like 10 months. I was extremely, I think in many ways, just kind of lucky, but it made my life very, very easy because for many, many months, I wasn't having to focus on constantly turning out new creatives, which kind of allowed me to obviously focus on booking calls and the fulfillment side of things. But now we're at a place where those ads, well, I learned from you, it actually wasn't the ads, it was the setting, right? So that's why being in this program is very valuable because it wasn't an ads problem. And I was about to make a big mistake in like turning those off and then creating new ads. And really we had a setting problem. But now I'm at a place where we're going to start pumping out, obviously, new creatives because that ad has been up for so long that it's kind of starting to lose some steam. But yeah, Alec was like, this is not normal. It's definitely not normal to come out of the gate and have an 8 to 16x ROAS month over month on ads. You're lucky. So yeah, it was just awesome.
That's awesome. So just to make sure I have this right, when you came in and you finally got your ads up, you put up your first ad and that ad just took off and you got an 8x ROAS, a 16x ROAS. And I mean, it's been running for 10 months. So like, how much do you think that one ad has made you?
Oh, it's made me, gosh, 300 to 400K. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, because the majority of all traffic now has been all from ads. Like I hardly did any because I really wanted to figure out where is all of our traffic coming from. And candidly, once that ad started pumping, because I'm running all fulfillment sales included, I haven't really had time to be focusing on organic reach on social media. So everything has come through ads. So I'm really excited because now I'm switching kind of back, I don't want to say switching back over, but refocusing on organic reach as well to try and bring in, that additional revenue stream. But yeah, the ads, it made all the difference. And one of the things that I love about this program is that with organic, it's just inconsistent. Like I think if you're banking your entire business on whether or not people are going to like what you're posting on social media, you have no way to forecast. And that was one of the things that was really, really scary to me before, coming into this program where it was like, I kind of felt like a dancing monkey. Like how many, how many shirtless, like Instagram mirror poses am I going to have to do, to get people to come into this program? And having the ads, you have a very specific formula that you teach us of what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and it allows you to forecast out, and like I said, having access to you, if something isn't working, you teach us exactly how to fix it. So it's, incredible.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's a huge part of business and just being surrounded by the right type of people. And, I'll take as much credit as I can, but I think there's also a lot that I personally learned from like you and our clients as well too, just having a community of coaching people that everyone's running into something different. And I think there's like the brainstorming aspect. So second last thing I'd like to ask you is like, what would you say about like our community compared to maybe some other communities that you found or the type of people that you get to interact with on a daily basis?
Yeah, number one is, your coaches are just top notch, right? They've all done it and they're very responsive. And I think aside from that, I actually like you guys. I don't say that lightly. Like you guys are really, really cool. It's a very chill environment and it almost feels like you guys are inside of the business, right? It doesn't feel like I'm in a coaching program. It literally feels like you're somebody that's inside of my organization that is helping grow the business. The second thing is in regards to the community, you guys work with really high quality people. And I think a lot of other programs, you get into these group settings and it can actually be really, really frustrating for someone like me, who's like a high performer. My brain works really, really fast. And if you're not dealing with people that are kind of on the same level as you or doing even better than you, which is one of the biggest things for me, I think getting into the elite, being at 20K a month and being on these calls and listening to other entrepreneurs who are like at 60 to 100K a month, it fired me up. I was like, well, I thought 20K a month was good, and it's really nothing, And so I think I'm a big believer that being surrounded by people that are just crushing it in a way that you're not really helps you to elevate your game, and learning from them and learning from you. And then the last thing I just want to say about that is, I think from a humility standpoint, I think one of the things that has been super beneficial to me is watching you mentor people that are not listening to you. I know that sounds really weird, but a lot of times when I'm on calls, I'm listening for your instruction, which is positive, but I'm also listening very intently on when you're telling somebody what they've done wrong. So that gives me a laundry list of things to not do inside of the business. And usually when that's the case, it's people aren't following the KPIs. They're allowing their emotion. You're like, let's go to the master tracker, right? So that has now conditioned me anytime. Like, I'm like, I don't want to be that, client of yours where you're like, Ashley, I love that you feel that way, but let's go to the numbers. And that has just been invaluable, right? Just it's like people are either crushing it inside of the group or they're not listening to you. I found it's kind of one or the other. And in both cases, the information that comes out of that is extremely valuable. So if you're somebody that comes into the program and that's your objective is to just learn from you like a sponge and just absorb all of it. My gosh, I mean, you have all of that right there laid out for us. So
that's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think it is kind of like that. And like, that's one of the things that we really try to focus on is sometimes the mistakes you can make are more costly than not making the investment in the first place. And I'm glad
Yeah.
that you picked up on that, because if you can shortcut the learning curve and not make some of the same mistakes that we've made or some of the other clients have made, it's not only
Yes.
going to save you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Oh,
but
yeah.
also save you a lot of mental energy and space as well.
If you just do what you tell us to do, it works. Like it to me, it's a fail proof, because if something isn't working, then you guys are accessible to us and you will help us walk us through why something may not work and give correction. So I look at this as almost being like a fail proof plan, right? If you listen and you work it, it works for you. It's really simple.
I
So
like
yeah,
that. I like that.
I always tell people, because people will reach out to me online who are thinking about joining the program, and I always tell them this is the best money I've ever spent for my business. Like, worth the investment, even if it's going to cash constrain you, do it, because not doing it is costing you every month. Every month that you're not in this program is costing your business money. So, yeah.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much. That was actually going to be my last question, but you already answered it on
Oh,
the spot.
good.
So, Ashley, thank you so
Of
much for hopping
course.
on this call. It's been an amazing opportunity to see you grow, and we're going to continue to help you grow and keep scaling this thing.
Thank you so much, Justin.